Welcome back to my channel, guys. This is the Red Elevator. I'm Nina, and today we are going to look, well, let's put it this way. I've seen it all. I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, and yes, sometimes the ugly. So today I want to talk about something that might ruffle some feathers, unfortunately, but it needs to be said. And are you ready? It is what makes your home look cheap. But more importantly, how are we going to fix it? I'm here to give you guys solutions, so let's get into it. Before we dive in, let me clarify something crucial. When I say cheap, I'm not talking about the price tag of the item. I'm really talking about the look of the item. And I've walked into million-dollar homes, multi-million-dollar homes that look like a hodgepodge of mismatched pieces. And I've seen studio apartments that are furnished impeccably. So it has nothing to do with dollar value or wealth or the size of anything. It really is just a moment, a glimpse of what things don't do you any favor and how to make them look amazing. The very first is the trend trap. So you've seen them all. The farmhouse signs where all the love is engraved on a board, or a cheese platter that says cheese. Remember the infamous live, life, love, laughter signs that are in neon that are above lots of headboards, and headboards that are way too tall. And well, I could go on and on and on, but these trends, unfortunately, are dating and cheapening your home. A lot of these trends start on Pinterest. They have a moment, they do well, and then they go viral. And any trend that goes, unfortunately, viral ends up looking dated and hence not so pleasing, shall we say. How to fix this? Well, you want to invest 80% of your budget in timeless classic pieces. You want to use trends in easily changeable items like, a small decorative pillow, art, or small pieces. And before buying into a trend, ask yourself, will I still love this 10 years from now? Will I still love this 5 years from now? That will give you a very big takeaway. Something that I do now that I didn't used to do is before I buy anything, I say to myself, can I live without this? Meaning, is it killing me to walk away from this item? And if I say yes, then I buy it. But if I say no, it's okay, I like it, but I don't love it to death, then I say no and I move away. And I find that I have edited myself quite a bit from buying impulse purchases that have no real depth or meaning to them. Guys, we're at 97,000 and maybe more by the time this video goes live. I promise that when we get to 100 and I get that plaque, that I will be doing the ugly dance for you. I will be making a fool of myself for your enjoyment. So for that reason, can you please click subscribe? Because if you do, I will be very grateful. And it doesn't cost a thing, so why not? All right, let's move from following trends to something that often gets overlooked but makes a world of difference. Now, this is something that we can immediately take action upon. What this is called an oversight of the small details. An oversight of the small details has a very big impact. So imagine that you have the most beautiful sofa in the world, but if it's surrounded by scuffed walls, mismatched hardware, or worn out throw pillows, or a dirty, blanket, it's going to diminish the beauty of the room. And it's like wearing a designer dress with scuffed shoes. You wouldn't do that. We like things that have patina and have vintage to them, but not when they look literally beat up. The details can make or break the overall impression of your home, and having too many little things that aren't thoughtfully placed is going to make your place look cheap. Now, how do you fix this? Well, conduct a monthly detail audit. It's a really great way to get rid of clutter and move things around. I'm not saying throw everything out. I'm saying put 50% of it away, put it in a cupboard, bring something new out. Not only will your space feel refreshed and you have a new moment where you get to see something new and feel special and love it, and replace worn items promptly. There's no reason to have, a candle that's burnt to its last bit and leave it out. Like, there's no reason for that. Just remove it, throw it out, get the new candle, keep things fresh. Keep a paint touch-up can. I love having these around the house. I'm gonna link one from Amazon that allows you to pour some in a little touch-up bottle that you can keep handy, and you could just, touch up the scuffs, which I love to do over the weekend. It's very therapeutic, by the way. And you wanna iron and steam, your curtains if they've gotten wrinkled, or if people have sat down and made a mess, just clean up after them. Doing these things literally can save you from having a house that looks just dirty and old, and you can keep things nice and fresh. Speaking of materials, let's talk about one of the most important impactful elements in any space: natural versus artificial. This is what can cheapen a home. Natural materials have a timeless appeal that's hard to replicate, such as marbles or, actual beautiful trees. However, I understand that not everyone can afford marble countertops or solid wood furniture, and that hence veneer. But the key is to know how to work within your budget while maintaining authenticity. Now, this is how you are going to resolve this dilemma and how to uncheapen the cheap. That would be, if you can't afford solid wood, opt for a quality veneer. And I've seen a lot of quality veneer pieces. Even some of the most important furniture makers use veneer. There's no reason why veneer should be likened to cheap. Make sure it doesn't look plasticky. Touch the materials if you can. With online shopping, it's really hard to vet things, but make sure that you buy from places that have a return policy so that if you don't like them, you can return them and not be stuck with them. Choose materials that are honest about what they are rather than poor imitation. So I would much rather go to an estate sale and source something that's real, vintage, good quality than something that's a knockoff that you can buy at a home goods type of store. So, you have, for instance, a lot of marble yards that have faux marble and they're like replicating marble. Why do that? Why are we pretending to be putting in a real material when it's not real? You might as well just put a quartzite top that's all white and claim it as quartzite. We don't need to pretend we're marble when we're not, if that makes sense. So mix high and low. So you want to invest in genuinely good materials and good pieces, and you can trickle in things that are low, but they don't necessarily have to be cheap looking. So your good pieces, your focal points should be good quality. Your sofas need to be good quality because they need to last. I went into a house recently where we sat on a sofa, and the sofa just moved as we moved because it was so lightweight and it was so cheap. And I thought to myself, how is this possible? So make sure that you vet the items that you are buying, make sure they are solid, they're quality. And there are, by the way, inexpensive items that are made of quality. So it doesn't have to do necessarily with price. And consider natural alternatives like bamboo or rattan, which offer authentic charm at a lower price point. So if you're at a loss as to how to uncheapen your home, or you want to know what kind of items you should bring into your home and what to edit, well, I'm only a phone call away. If you would like a consultation regarding color, fabric choices, anything at all, you can click the Zoom link in the description section and my calendar will pop up. You can pick a date that's convenient for you and we can jump on a Zoom call and meet one another. I've had the best time knowing and finding out about all of my followers, or at least some of my followers. And it's been really eye-opening to know that there's so many wonderful, kind-hearted people out there like you who have the same vision as I do. Most of you guys who call me have the same aesthetic, which makes me even more excited. I'm like, wait, this is fantastic. And I'm like, there's a reason, because we align aesthetically with one another. So that's really, really fun. Okay, let's explore something that's completely free, but often overlooked. What is that? Well, that is embracing negative space. This is something that if I could etch in my tombstone, I will. Perhaps I'll have a negative space. Perhaps there will be negative space on my tombstone. Okay, enough with the morbidity, but one of the biggest mistakes I see is the fear of an empty space. Clients always want to fill a space. They feel compelled to put things in every corner. And there is something so beautiful about nothingness. And there's something so decidedly different and chic about emptiness. And so what you want to do is you want to have that balance. You want to take a pause. You want negative space. Even in our floral arrangement, as you can see, we always have negative space. It doesn't have to be rounded and beautiful, and what makes it artistic is the negative space. And so the same holds true for design. And having a space that's decidedly empty always has a fantastic impact. Think of negative space as a design element, not an empty void, and you'll feel a lot better about it. So how do you do that? Well, this is how you fix it. You follow the 80-20 rule. You keep 20% of your space empty, and 80% can have lots of goodies. Don't over goodie, but it can definitely have 80% can be full. So you create breathing room. Now, I like more of a 70-30, but that's a lot to ask. So for those of you who are minimalist, you will have no problem doing this. But for those of you who are maximalists, at least go for the 80-20, and ideally a 70-30 would be even better. Now, that means some of your walls are going to be blank. You're going to create breathing room between furniture pieces. Not every piece of furniture has to have a side table and a lamp. I see that a lot with my clients. They say, well, where's the side table? Where's the lamp? Where's this? Where's that? And I say, we don't need all of it because it just looks like a big bunch of clutter in the center of a room. And that's just not what we want. So edit your accessories regularly. I tend to over accessorize and then I go back and I edit them out. I do this because I'm constantly buying things or I'm gifted things, so I place them and then I'm like, wait, I gotta remove. And in fact, this weekend I'll be removing a lot from my office. I think it's just too crowded, it's making me crazy. So that's one way to also keep your sanity. As we talk about what fills our walls, let's address a common pitfall. Mass-produced pieces. There's nothing that screams generic quite like seeing the same mass-produced canvas print in every home. So stay away from buying canvas prints from a home box store. Those to me are very obvious. You can just tell by the texture of the art that it's mass-produced because there's a glare on it. There's no texture, there's no depth to it, and it just does not look sophisticated. I would much rather you had your children paint a piece of canvas and frame that, or find, at a flea market, a $3 item. I would much rather you did that than bought a $20 piece of art from a box store. Also, remember, you have a lot of students that like to sell their art online because they need money, and some of them end up being very famous artists. So there's no reason why going on eBay and typing original art as one of your keywords isn't going to help you source good art. So that you can certainly do that, or you can create your own. I have a client who has a ton of money and she just can't commit to art because she wants to, I don't know, she just wants to think about it or whatever the story may be. And so she created a bunch of abstract art, and she's very talented, and she framed them and she put them up, and voila, she's done. And it looks amazing, looks great. They could be Rothkos, I don't know, why not? So mix different mediums also, that's very important. Nothing looks cheaper than putting the same kind of art. Let's say you love oil on canvas and you have oil on canvas everywhere. Like, you just can't do that. You gotta have oil on canvas, you gotta have perhaps acrylic paint, you can have photography, you can have 3D art, whatever it may be. You want to have things that are very different from one another. Another great way of elevating your art is also to do great framing. So one thing that I have done that I find very, very useful that I will share with you is I will go to estate sales and find random art that I may like, whether it's a print, it's typically a print, and then I'll take it to a very fine gallery framer, and then I'll have it reframed, and it looks like $1 million. For those of you who always ask, today I am wearing what I think is a very cute outfit. I might say so myself. The jeans are a very cute jean skirt that I got from H&M. And my top is the perfect sweater for the sweater season from Laline. My shoes are Chanel, and so is my bag. Now let's dive into something that can make your space feel like a movie set, but I don't mean in a good way. So what did I mean by movie sets? I mean themes. So themed rooms, especially when they don't align with your location or lifestyle, can feel forced and artificial. And even if they are a part of your surrounding, it's a little bit on the cheap side. So for instance, if you're in Montana and then everything in the house is plaid and cowboy hats and art, sculptures of a horse, and now you're taking this theme entirely too far. It's wonderful to have elements of the outside. Let's say you love to ride horses, you can have some equestrian wear and so forth. But when everything is the same and is literally a replica of what's going on in the city, then it's too much. So what you want to do is you want to strike a balance. You don't want it to seem forced and artificial, and that is making your home look cheap. So how do you fix it? If you have a theme, remove 50% of it, I would say, because themes should even be less than 50%. They should be maybe 20% of your home. So I know that's a lot to ask. So if you like Elvis, I get it. I've got friends who love Elvis and they have a lot of Elvis things, but you just can't have Elvis everywhere. Maybe you have a moment of Elvis in a corner. So opt for subtle nods rather than obvious themes. Use color palettes and textures to evoke a feeling rather than an actual themed item. And incorporate personal elements that tell the story. You want to avoid literally themed items, for example, anchors in a beach home or shells in a beach house. You want to focus on the feeling you want to create rather than a specific theme. Something else that can make your room and your house feel very, very cheap, unfortunately, is a poorly planned layout. A poorly planned layout is very painful for those who have the eye and come to your home, because this happens to me where I walk into people's homes and all I want to do is change their layout. Sometimes when they're close enough, of friends, I say, do you mind if we move the sofa a little bit this way or the chair a little bit that way? And they don't mind. In fact, they're appreciative. So you really want to open your floor plan. You want to give it some thought and you want it to flow beautifully. One of the biggest challenges with open floor plan is defining distinct zones. So without clear divisions, it can be difficult to separate your living from your dining, from your kitchen. And this can really look like a cluttered, disorganized mess, especially if you have your everyday things out. And it can also be very overwhelming and bad for your mental health. The way to fix this is to define zones. Furniture placement is very important. You can use furniture arrangements to visually separate different zones. For example, a large rug can define a seating area, while a dining table can delineate the dining zone. Area rugs are the perfect way of really creating individual spaces in a home. And by the way, I might have mentioned once or twice before that I have a Ruggable collection, but a new collection is going to be coming out in just a few weeks. So there is nothing that gives me more pleasure than to be able to enter and be in your homes with the designs that I have created, because I find them to be very, very universal, extremely chic, and they really automatically can elevate your space. We will link all of my rugs in the description section below so you guys can have a look at them. The next mistake that I see that cheapens your home is over furnishing. It's a little bit like what we just talked about negative space. The same applies to too much furniture. It can make a room feel cramped and cluttered. So it's important to select pieces that are both functional and visually appealing, but to leave some negative space to create balance. So another way to do this is having multifunctional furniture. Multifunctional furniture is a great way to create this decluttering system without losing some of these pieces that you may need. So for instance, in a bedroom, if you need a desk and you need nightstands, why not turn one of the nightstands into a desk? That's always a great idea. You see it in hotels and it can be done beautifully. Declutter regularly. Regularly decluttering will really transform your mind and your space. So remember, start implementing these fixes one at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself, and you'll be amazed how quickly and how beautifully your space can be transformed. Thank you again for tuning in this week, and we cannot wait to see you again next week on this channel, The Red Elevator.